Hello, my bookish friends. Welcome to the channel. Today I am doing a spread in my reading journal for the book series Daughters of the Moon. If you're interested to hear my take on this series, find out what this series is, or see what this setup's going to look like, be sure to stay tuned. Welcome back, my bookish friends. I'm so happy to have you here. I love spending my Saturday mornings with you. Today I'm going to be setting up the spread in my reading journal for Daughters of the Moon. This is a young adult series by Lynne Ewing. It's an urban fantasy about four girls who turn out to be mortal goddesses. They each have their own unique power. They have their own story and their own gifts. They also have their own fantastical lineage that comes into play later in the series, but they've each had these gifts since birth, but haven't all received any information on what they are until they come together in the first book. Some of them have been getting training for longer than others, but they've all been called to come together and defeat an ancient evil. In this series, the evil is called the Aatrox, and each one of these girls sort of has a different future, a different destiny, and different dark sides to them. They each have a moon amulet that they've had their whole lives that gives them some protection, and they're told, we learn in book 1, that when they turn 17, that they'll live these amazing lives. But when they turn 17, they have to make a choice. They can either become something more than they are now, but they will not be given any details on what that something more is, or they can continue their mortal lives, but forget everything. Forget their powers, forget each other, forget what they did and their legacy as Daughters of the Moon. So they will fight this evil. They will have powers for this time, but when they turn 17, they have to make a decision, and if they choose their mortal lives, they lose everything else. That might seem crazy, but that really appeals to some of these girls who have spent their lives wanting to fit in and be normal. As the series goes on, turns out there are some other options available to some of these girls. So it's a really interesting series. There's Vanessa, there's Caddy, Serena, and Tiana. They all have their own lives, their own personalities, their own hobbies and interests, and very different family dynamics. Each book in this series is told from a different character's perspective. So book 1 is from Vanessa's perspective. Book 2, we get a different perspective. Book 3, book 4. And because there's about 14 books in this series, there's some overlap. So it's not like you meet Vanessa from her perspective once and that's the end. You jump back and forth throughout the series. It's a really cool coming of age story. I like the characters, I like the personalities, I like how they all come together, I like how they fit, how they don't fit, the decisions they make. As an adult, I'm reading these and I'm like, why in God's name would you do that? But then I'm thinking back to when I was a teenager and I'm like, yeah, no, that tracks. That makes sense. That fits for your age. And I love it. It was a really great series to read through, to sort of see the conflict that they have, the internal struggle of this impending decision, and who they date and how that impacts who they become. Really, really fascinating read. If any of that sounds interesting, this might be the book for you. In this story, we have some LGBTQA representation, and so I wanted to do something that incorporated the rainbow, even though we're not in June anymore. That doesn't go away. I wanted to sort of incorporate that blast of color. I had this moon cycle under the Daughters of the Moon because That seemed fitting. And then I wanted to bring in just some really simple stickers that also tie into the planets because, goddesses and gods, that comes into play. And it also brought in some shimmer, some glitter, and allowed for a lot of writing space because, like I said, this is 14 books. I'm gonna have some words. So this is the book series Daughters of the Moon and how I set up my journal for it. If this sounds at all interesting to you, by all means, check it out. If you've already read this series, drop down in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. What surprised you? What didn't? Who did you think was gonna choose to stay mortal? And what did you think of how they dealt with this transition? Tell me all your thoughts down below or ask your questions. I'll do my best to give spoiler-free answers. Love you guys so much. Thanks for coming out week after week. I adore you. If you're interested in joining a book club with other content creators and bookish folk, you can check the link in the description box below and join the Discord server. We have started a book club over there. I think you'll start seeing some content creators lining up their reading journals. So feel free to jump in on that. Again, if you want to hear more bookish content, you can check me out on TikTok. I post every day on 2 different channels. One is my stationery addiction. The other is my book talk and author information stuff. So follow me on both of those if you are interested. Want to support the channel? You can find me on Patreon, again linked in the description box below. I am giving you guys some behind the scenes access to my book, to my progress on my book, as well as early access to the content on this channel. Thank you guys so much for your support on all of those platforms. Love hanging out with you, and I can't wait to chat with you in the comment section below. Take care, lovelies. I'll see you next week.